This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. It's so great to have you joining me here in these online lessons. It's a Theory Thursday, and as you know, I love music theory, and I'm delighted to bring these lessons to you. Now, in this lesson, we're going to look at seventh chords, especially ones that have a natural 5 or the perfect fifth to them. So 2 Theory Thursday lessons ago, we looked at all the different types of triads or 3-note voicings that we play on the guitar that get used in music. Pretty foundational. Most of our pop, rock, folk, etc. styles use 3-note based chords, those triadic based chords. But some of the styles that we play, especially like show tunes and jazz in particular, bring in other sounds, the 6th, the 7th, and even 9th, 11th, and 13th. In the last lesson, I explained major 6 and minor 6 chords, as well as major 6/9 and minor 6/9 chords. In this lesson, we're going to look at 7th chords, how we add either a major 7th or a minor 7th to major or minor triads. So we're going to look at that, and then in the next Theory Thursday lesson, we're actually going to look at the ones with the altered fifths. So that's going to be great, and after that, we'll look at 9th, 11th, and 13th chords, how we can add 9ths, 11ths, and 13ths to the 7th chords that we're learning about in this and the next lesson. So it's going to be great. So let's just go ahead and take a look here. Now, as I just mentioned, we can take a major 7th or a minor 7th, so the natural 7th in a major scale or the flatted 7th by comparison to that, 1 fret lower, 1/2 step lower. And we can add that to any major triad or minor triad, and as we'll see, we could also do it with suspended chords. I'll show you the one that's most common. So up here on the board, I've got a little of this sketched out and written out. It helps to see the visual. So the major 7th chord, this one is a really pretty sound. This one has the root, the major 3rd, the perfect 5th, and the major 7th. This one in theory terms, like classical music theory terms, is known as a major 7th chord because it has the major 3rd and the major 7th. So it's a major triad with a major 7th. So if we did this in the key of C, that would have C, E, G, and B. Isn't that pretty? Love that major 7th sound. Now over here on the right side of the board, I've got some chord symbol examples. So when we're having a major 7th chord, we're going to have the root, so in this case C, and then we're going to have something in front of the 7, so we're going to have a 7 on there to tell us to play the 7th. But we're going to have something in front of it, in front of that 7 that tells us that it's a major 7th. So M-A-J, for example, or an uppercase M, so capital letter M, or a triangle. Those are the 3 most common ways to indicate major. You might also see MA sometimes, just MA, not MAJ, but that tells us to play the major 7th. Play that major chord with that major 7th. Such a pretty sound. I love that sound. Now in the jazz lessons that come out right now on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, there is help with learning to play some different voicings for these chords. There's also quick answer videos that go through different voicings for some major 7th chords. So that's that one. Now if we alternatively take and add a minor 7th to the major triad, we get the dominant 7th chord, which is also in classical theory terms known as the major minor 7th, because it's got the major 3rd and the minor 7th. So this one has the root, the major 3rd, the perfect 5th, and then the minor 7th or the flatted 7th. So in the key of C, we'd have C, E, G, and then B flat. Sometimes in first position to play C7, we have to omit the 5th, so we can fit that flatted 7th in there, but I can play that in different places, in different ways, so I don't have to just play it there. So that's a C7. Now with this one, we're going to have the root and then just the 7th thrown on. This is the more common one. We actually see this chord in all styles of music pretty prevalent, and that's because it's got this tension that wants to resolve in a very specific way. So we've talked about creating chord progressions a few lessons ago on Theory Thursday. The dominant 7th chord is a major chord with a flatted 7th. That's why we refer to this one as the dominant 7th chord, because its function most of the time in a song is as the 5 chord of the key that wants to resolve to the tonic or the 1 chord of the key. So we've learned about this previously, but here we are talking about it as the quality that it is. So because of its function, it's usually functioning that way. We've also seen how it can function in a secondary fashion as well on these Theory Thursdays. But because of its function, that's how we usually refer to the voicing that has a major triad with that minor 7th. So in theory terms, this is a major minor 7th chord, but we just in general refer to it as the dominant 7th chord. And think how confusing it would be if we put something in front of this 7 to try and indicate that it was a minor 7th or a flatted 7th. That would add confusion. So when it's the minor 7th or the flatted 7th, we just throw the 7 on. So we got the root telling us it's a major chord there, nothing telling us it's minor, and then we have that 7 thrown on. But that major 7 sound, we have something in front of that 7 telling us it's a major 7, not the minor 7. So those are our 2 types there. Now, we can, as I mentioned at the beginning of the lesson, have a suspension instead. We could put a suspension in any of these. We really would only end up with 2 types. Because what we're going to do when we create a suspended chord is we replace the 3rd with the 4th. So that creates a sus4 sound. We don't technically hear it very often against the major 7th. So we don't see a major 7th chord with a suspension very often, though it could exist. But we do see the dominant 7th chord with a suspension quite frequently. So this is where we've got the root, now the perfect 4th instead of the major 3rd, and we got the perfect 5th, and then the minor 7th. So C, F, G, B flat. So there's a couple options here. With this one, we're going to see the C7 and then sus written after, or you could see sus4, but it's usually just sus, just like that. So we don't really think of the minor chords going sus, but the same thing would happen if we replace the minor 3rd with the perfect 4th, would be the same as a major 7th when we're looking at having a minor chord with a major 7th, or we'd end up right where we were with the minor chord if we were throwing this here. But functionally speaking, we usually see this chord played right here, functioning in the dominant 7th place. So it's functioning in place of a dominant 7th chord. It's functioning in place of where we'd normally have that 5-7 chord. We'll see it suspended. So functionally speaking, this is the only suspension that we tend to see very often. Though you could also see the suspended triad against a major 7th, but it's rare. So I put that dominant 7th sus in there because we run into that from time to time. Okay, and it has a perfect 5th. So that is those. Now let's look at the minor chords. So just like we can add a major 7th or a minor 7th to those major chords, we can add a major or a minor 7th to the minor chords. So a minor major 7th chord, this is the only one where we use the full classical theory term to explain it, minor major. So that means it has a minor 3rd and a major 7th. So we have that root, that minor 3rd, that perfect 5th, and then that major 7th. So in the key of C, we'd have C, E flat, G, and B. It's got a high tension to it. It's got a real pretty sound in its own unique way, and there are songs that have been written around that sound. For the chord symbol, we're going to have a lowercase m and a cat telling us that it's a minor chord. So after the root, we have the root, lowercase m, or a minus sign telling us, oh, it's a minor chord. Then we have an uppercase M or a triangle in front of the 7 telling us that it is a major 7th. So root and then minor telling us it's a minor chord, something telling us it's a major 7th, and then that 7. So we got the 2 options that you most commonly see there for that minor major 7 chord. Distinct color. Very, very distinct. More commonly, we play in pop, rock, and folk, and just lots of music in general, jazz, and so on. The one we see more commonly is the minor minor 7th. So our minor 7th chord is how we generally refer to it. It's got the root, the minor 3rd, the perfect 5th, and then that minor 7th, hence the theoretical explanation of minor minor 7. So this one has the C, E flat, G, B flat. And so we get lots of different ways of playing a nice minor 7th chord, C minor 7. We're going to have the root, something telling us it's minor, lowercase m or minus sign, and then that 7. So when it's a minor 7th thrown on, it's just thrown onto the chord symbol. Our major chord symbols just have the root. So when we see a 7 thrown on, just with the root, that's our major minor 7th sound, our dominant 7th sound. If we see here with the minor, we see that root and something telling us it's a minor chord, then the 7th thrown on, it's our minor 7th sound. But the major 7th chord is sort of special. It's got that extra color to it that it adds to the chords. That one's got to have something in front of the 7th telling us it's major, whether it be the MAJ, capital letter M, and the triangle. Though with the minor chords, that would really make it long, so it's usually just we see that triangle or that capital letter M. So these are our 4 types of 7th chords that have a natural 5th, and then we do add in that dominant 7th sus that we run into from time to time. So super cool. I love these sounds. Now if you want help with voicings, check out quick answer videos. There's ones that can help with different voicings for playing these. Also though, throughout the jazz series course, which right now comes out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, there are different segments of how to play various versions of major 6 chords, minor 6 chords, and these 7th chords. So lots of great help there, and super fun to learn some of these incredible sounding voicings. Now on the next Theory Thursday, we're going to look at the types that we end up with when we have altered 5ths. So altering that 5th, whether it be a sharp 5 or a flat 5, changes up the quality of the chord, and we get some more options with each of these. Technically we could add a sharp 5 or a flat 5 to any one of these, and we're going to end up with some more chord types. We also get some fully diminished 7th and even a diminished 7th with a major 7th, so we get some diminished triads adding some different sounds as well beyond just what would happen with the alterations we get from these 4 chords. So cool things to come on the next Theory Thursday, and again we have those Monday, Wednesday, Friday jazz lessons. We have Technique Tuesday lessons right now, and on Saturdays there's a series running where we're working on improvising or soloing, jamming in the pop, rock, and blues styles. So that's what's coming out fresh, but there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, nearly 1,000 lessons at this point. We're approaching that on the channel, so lots of great things to help you with playing the guitar. Keep having fun, take care, and we'll see you again.
If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at KristenBromley.com. Take care.